All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Straight Buckets. I'm here with Zach in Toronto, Brandon, Connecticut, and I'm
What's
currently
up?
currently in Pennsylvania as well. So we got the East Coast here represented. Um, so let's go ahead and start with today's show. Today we're starting out with our first quarter. We're going to start out with a very important topic. So the Warriors are on a 10-game winning streak right now as they've beaten both the Spurs and the Rockets recently in recent games without Kevin Durant. And there are rumors that have been said that he could return even before the season's over, play a couple of regular season games at the end of the season here with his team. But there has been talk about whether that'll throw off the chemistry, whether that'll make the Warriors worse. Are the Warriors better without Kevin Durant? So I pose a question to you two, Zach and Brandon. Are the Warriors going to be thrown off with KD's return, or should they be even better when he comes back? What do you think, Zach?
Well, ever since he went down with an injury, I made an extra effort to watch Golden State play. And why I did that is because I think they're now, even without him, the most exciting team to watch. I think the chemistry being built from last year has been on full display, like you said earlier, with that 10-game winning streak. And with the newly acquired Matt Barnes, their defense has been absolutely unbelievable. Like you said, I really hope that this team can get Durant back in for a couple games before the playoffs, because I do in fact think that there is a chance that he could screw up chemistry if he just comes in right when the playoffs begin.
Okay. What do you think, Brandon?
Well, this 10-game streak, all it's telling us is that they did not need him and they never needed him. All right, they were good off with their bench, and they could have saved the money to pay Steph, even though he says he doesn't care too much about making that much more money. But, they obviously really didn't need him that much. That's yet to be determined when they play a team like Cleveland. It's surprising because everybody's making the argument that, it's so great that Kevin Durant's been there because they're such a better defensive team than they were last year with him on the court. But since he's been gone, they've been better statistically without him, which is kind of surprising. But hypothetically, if they find themselves in a pretty physical series in the playoffs and Draymond gets in foul trouble, if Durant's not fully back in the fold yet, then you might see some issues.
Okay, but do you really think that a team is better off without an MVP like Kevin Durant? Do you really? Honestly, in my opinion, I do not think the Warriors are better off without him. I think they'll need him. They will need him when it comes to playoff time because they'll need that extra. He's not just an extra rotation guy. He's a star. He's a superstar in the league. And I feel like if you're saying that 3 superstars is better than 4, I can't. I know that they've been winning without him, but the Warriors are not better off without him.
Todd, let me talk to you. Listen, I understand your point, and it is. I would like to have someone of his caliber on the court at the same time. But you want to know what this has really done with him being gone? Steph Swagger is back. He's out there. He's having fun. He's putting up a lot of points again. He's in rhythm. It doesn't take him that long. Remember just before Kevin – it was just around before Kevin Durant got hurt and Steph was in that rut, and he had that really bad streak of like 5-6 games or something like that, or almost like 2 weeks where he could barely hit a 3. Like his shooting percentage was really low. He's back. Everybody was talking about how come Steph's not in the MVP discussion. How can someone that's been was the back-to-back MVP, unanimous last year, not even be in the discussion? That Steph is back, and that makes a difference. And the Warriors thrive off Steph being Steph. I'm just saying.
Like Brandon said, I would rather have Steph Curry at the top of his game than Kevin Durant at the top of his game. And before you get mad, I'm not saying that I wouldn't want Durant on the court with him, but what I'm saying is I think that you would need to continue having Steph being the number one option moving forward once Durant returns because of how absurdly well he's been playing.
Exactly. So I don't disagree with you there. I don't disagree with you there in the fact that Steph needs to be the guy who has the ball in his hand, the one who should be the number one option on the team. Steph thrives when he knows that he's the person who's out there and he's the guy, And I think everyone talked about how when Kevin Durant was coming to the Warriors, this was before, right when he was recently signed, they're talking about, who's going to be the guy, whose team is going to be. And up until this point in the season, it's been Kevin Durant's team. He's been the one who's been shooting super effectively, and he's been getting all these open shots. He's been having a heyday. He's been having great numbers, probably the most efficient shooter in the league right now. But that being said, I don't think that with Steph finding his swagger, I think that him coming back, Kevin Durant coming back into the team doesn't mean that Steph has to give that up. I think that Kevin Durant will realize, these guys are in rhythm. Here, just put me in there. I'll ride the back seat. And I think he can take the higher road because he's obviously went to the Warriors for a championship. If he wanted points and usage, he could have stayed with the Thunder, battled out the whole usage percentage battle with Westbrook. But when it comes down to it, that's what he's going to have to do. And if they do that, they will thrive and they will win.
So Todd, I ask you, you're saying that if he comes back, he has to realize that Steph and the rest of them are in rhythm and that he should kind of find his own way, not so try to go back to the role that maybe he was once at, to try to give Steph and Clay maybe continue the rhythm that they're at?
Exactly, yeah. He needs to be part of that. He needs to find his place in that. And when you're playing good basketball, you don't want to mess with that, obviously.
Absolutely.
Having Kevin Durant out there as an extra option when things are going their way because, shooters are shooters and they do have bad nights. We need that extra option. The Warriors need that extra option to be able to – sorry, my bias just came out. But the Warriors need that extra option in order to put themselves over, the Cavs.
Well, he did come in there talking about rhythm and disrupting it a little bit. I mean – who's ever had more rhythm than 73 wins in a season?
Absolutely. And if you look at things this way, when Durant's on the floor, his passing game, he's always been an incredible passer. His size has always been something that people use to try to throw shade at his passing ability, but it's pretty obvious by now that he's one of the best passers in the league. But I can't help but realize that Draymond Green, when he can spread the floor on offense, I just think that team is so much better than every other team. I think once Durant comes back, he'll be making more passes. There'll almost be too many options. This sounds ridiculous, but what I saw last night in the final stages of the game was the 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors at their finals.
At the same time, I understand that. Draymond is great at, making plays.
Everything.
He sees the floor perfectly. He's probably one of the best all-around players in the league, in my opinion. And also, I don't know if you guys watched the Rockets Warriors game last night. I stayed up till 1 watching it, and he shut down James Harden. James Harden had a terrible night last night. He almost had a triple-double, but it wasn't a great night. Let's just put it that way.
But in today's league,
he was like 4 of 18 from the field last night. It was terrible, and Draymond just shut him down. But that being said, I feel like Steve Kerr needs to find a way to maybe spread them out throughout the game, as to where, 2 of them are on the floor at the same time of Steph, Clay, and Kevin Durant. Maybe start them out together and then stagger them when they're resting. He needs to find a way to make that rotation work so that the rhythm's not off, but also you can take advantage of all of your star players.
Is there enough time? I get it. There might be, 10 to 15 games left? Is there enough time to really start testing combinations?
Yeah. Why not? I don't feel like
playing a risky game.
Todd, you're a little overconfident here. I don't know about you, but if I were a Warriors fan right now, I wouldn't want to touch a thing.
He's happy because his Warriors had an impressive comeback against the Spurs and beat the Rockets twice this week. That's what he's happy about. That's where all that confidence is coming from.
I know. I realize I'm being confident, but also putting the bias aside, I really do think that Steve Kerr can figure it out in a short amount of time. He's not stupid. He's a smart guy. In fact, he's, in my opinion, the second best head coach behind Pop in the league right now. Maybe Spoelstra D'Antoni just has a system because it thrives with James Harden. But Steve Kerr is a genius, and I think he can figure it out. If anyone can figure it out, it's him with those 4 guys.
Here's the last thing I'm going to say. You look at the Warriors at the beginning of the year, you look at Kevin Durant bailing them out in the second half, and you think, wow, this guy is incredible. You already know that, but he single-handedly saved them in a lot of situations early on. But I think this team, the chemistry is now back together, and in most games now, they won't be in a hole in the second half. The other team will be.
It's true.
Very true.
All right. well, with that being said, we'll just have to find out. Speculating though, I feel like you guys are saying, got to be careful. It'll throw off the rhythm, but I honestly think that it won't be a problem.
Well, it did throw off the rhythm to start the season off a little bit.
Well, it always does. Come on, when you add a new
You
player
think you think this is the right time to try to go back into that, especially on playoff time?
do you have a choice though? With Kevin Durant coming back, do you have a choice? Are you just going to sit him, not play him?
You have a good point. I'll give you that.
No, but they have to find a way to work him into a rotation, like you said. But the question is, do they have enough time to start experimenting again? I mean, right at the beginning of the year.
But do they have a choice?
In his first game, they lost to the Spurs, and that team looked off. You throw him back in the system again, and that Western Conference playoffs is going to be tight, let me tell you. Even the 8th seed.
The only thing is do they have a choice? Like, think about it. Are you going to put you're Steve Kerr, Zach, you're Steve Kerr. Are you just going to put Durant on the bench and let your team play? Like,
absolutely not. But am I going to let him find his stride and work his way back up? Maybe I'll tell him to take far less shots. Maybe I'll tell him to do that. I don't know. I'm not Steve Kerr.
But Steve Kerr, you can't give Kevin Durant a red light, man. You've got to have him had that green light because that's.
I have to give Kevin Durant a red light when Steph Curry's playing this well.
Listen. We'll agree to disagree. All right.
Let's move on.
All right. We'll move on to the second quarter. So with that being said, Rockets and Warriors faced off last night, and the Rockets this year just destroyed, and they still have games left to do it. The 3-point record of total 3-pointers in a season by a team of last year's Warriors. And the question being posed here is, and it was made last year as well, but do we think, or do you think that the overemphasis of the 3-pointer in the game today is detrimental to the league, or is it good for the league?
All right. If I can just start this one off. Sorry, Brandon. What the Rockets did this offseason was literally, aside from the center position, create an offense or create a starting 5 of players that simply just shoot the 3. They also have Eric Gordon. They also have Lou Williams. And to the surprise of the entire league, it's worked the entire year. Look at them. They're a top seed in the Western Conference. Mike D'Antoni is now reassuring the league that he's an elite coach. And this team, some may think is in contention, but I don't. And I'll tell you why. They're knocking down their threes. They're doing that. But what if they become cold? They can't just suddenly adjust and start playing small ball. A team like the Warriors, on the other hand, they can. They know when to turn the switch. Last night, you saw Klay pull up from half court late in the game, and you can tell that was pretty stupid. And then you see them play small ball. You see Iguodala score in the paint. You're seeing Curry driving, fooling the defenders. I just don't think for the regular season, Houston's 3-point shooting will get them a top seed in the playoffs, but they will not win a championship.
Brandon? Can't hear you.
Can't hear you. Maybe take out your headphones.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Back to what I was saying. It's obvious. I agree with Zach. I know it's working now. It looks great on paper. More threes for everyone. Everybody's trying to be kind of like how the Warriors have reinvented the league almost with these threes. Everybody sees themselves that they could relate, like young basketball players coming up, see that they could be more like Steph than they can someone like LeBron just due to physique and everything of that nature. But it's becoming an issue because I just think it's taken away from a lot of parts of basketball. You've taken the post. We were concerned like the last few years where it's gone. It's absolutely disappearing now. Mid-range, other than Carmelo and sometimes Kyrie in the mid-range.
DeRozan.
DeRozan owns that. But other than those few guys, I mean, we just see like it's either a layup or dunk or 3-point shots. And if you can't find a 3-point shot and you're cold that day, like Zach was saying, where's that's just bad. Where are you going to go on offense? And a lot of teams are struggling with that right now. A big reason why Cleveland struggled so recently, other than their defense, was because they've relied so heavily on the 3. And when it was working earlier in the season, they were playing better defense, and teams couldn't keep up with them, and they were just getting tired. Now that they're missing, and yeah, they've had some health issues throughout the last few months or so like that, and they're not hitting at such a higher rate, it's affecting them now. The only reason Cleveland differs from Houston is because Cleveland has LeBron, and they're in the Eastern Conference. So you might see series. The reason why everybody's like, oh, how come all these series, like, is Cleveland, even going to make it to the finals? Is Boston or Toronto or Washington going to push them, make it a 7-game series, possibly beat them? It seems close because Cleveland's not playing to the same par of defense, but they're not knocking down the threes they once were. And, LeBron will get them there, but it might be tougher than it was last playoffs if they're not hitting at the same rate.
So what I understand here from what you guys are saying is that it's fun to watch. It's cool and everything. It's flashy, but is it really sound basketball? I understand. I've heard it very many times from very many people. Live by the three, die by the three. But at the same time, in this league, it's changed. It's changed a lot, and in the past 3 years, 4 years, the Warriors have been doing this forever. I don't know if guys know this, but ever since Don Nelson has been the head coach of the Warriors
for a while,
said, throw them up, baby, throw them up. Just take as many as you want, and they've been doing this. That's how they beat the Dallas Mavericks in 2007 in the first round of the playoffs, just the threes, and honestly, the Warriors have been doing this for a long time. But however, the league has I'd say slowly,
quickly caught on, especially in the past 3 years, to the fact that, it's more points, why take a 2 when you can have a 3, I understand that it's a harder shot. It's a longer shot. And, but the thing is that there are better shooters in the league than there are post players these days. And I understand that we have players like Karl Anthony Towns, Kristaps Porzingis, we have Jokic, but what are these guys doing too? They're shooting 3-pointers. They're making 3-pointers. Big guys who, traditionally would play in the post, like say Tim Duncan, Ibaka.
Or Ibaka. Well, he shoots the 3 too sometimes. He's pretty good. He's got decent range. But traditional post players like Shaq or Dwight Howard, they're being weeded out. They're not as useful or as offensively dominant as they used to be, because that's not how the game is played these days.
Yeah, just another perfect example, Dirk Nowitzki.
Uh-huh.
Probably the best post player other than Tim Duncan of our generation.
Let me ask you a question.
He's shooting the 3 so much.
Todd, let me ask you a question, Todd. You said, what was it, Don Nelson, the Warriors former head coach back in the day? And you said he's always had this mantra of throwing it up, at least for his organization, his team.
Yeah.
And yes, they did get that playoff win against the Mavericks. That that
it didn't work back then.
Historical one. Understood. And you said, but think about it. How successful has it really been? Other than that lone playoff win before 2015.
You do have to realize
they hadn't won a championship.
Realize who was on the Warriors when he was doing that. It was a terrible organization.
Yeah, but he's always had that mantra. But then again, regardless of who's on your if you're gonna have that mantra, build a roster that's gonna fit that.
And that's what the Rockets have done. That's what the Warriors have done.
True, but not everybody's got Steph and Clay. Not everybody has Steph and Clay. Clay's the guy that put up
James Harden. You can have Eric Gordon.
Is Eric Gordon the same threat that Clay can be, where he put up 60 points in 29 minutes? That's something.
I guess it's not the same caliber. What I'm saying is
the reason.
The game is changing and the players are changing. The players that are coming up now are saying, "Hey, these guys are shooting the 3 and they're shooting it at a high rate and a high percentage. I need to get that in my game, or otherwise I'm going to be cut."
In terms of guys making rosters, I understand, because that's how the league is going. But how truly successful is it if this whole 3-point era dominated by the Warriors of recent years got one championship?
Yeah, okay, well, they haven't been this dominant until the past 3 years, and you can't judge it by just one championship or just 3 seasons. We need to give it time. But I'm not saying it should be the way the league is going, but it is the way the league is going. I can't change that. And I don't think the guys can change that either. So I think it's good. I think it makes for more exciting basketball. I think the league should continue to, just this heat and pray league. I love it. It's great. But at the same time, it may not be winning championships right now. But give it 5 more years.
But Todd, I mean, I might sound old here, but think about the fundamentals, man. Like it's taken away from it. I know.
There's still a place for that.
There is.
It's not the way the league is scoring right now.
Understood, but I know you love your Warriors to death, and you love those nights where it's like, oh, it's been close for like first half, and second quarter hits, Clay and Steph, boom, they're up by 20 in a second, and you love that shooting. But there's those nights, Todd. Don't lie. There's those nights where you're not hitting anything, and you're like, take it to the basket. Yes, and that aggravated you, right? Take it to the basket, and we're just taking that away out of the game altogether. Does Steph?
I don't think we are, though.
All right.
Does Steph really go to the basket? Unless it's his shot and it's creating guys coming close to him so he can get around them. He doesn't directly go to the basket. He looks for his threes first. And what are we telling, the youth and people going up? Look for the 3 first. Steph goes down on the fast break. It's 3-on-2, 3-on-1. Guys are sprinting to the three-point line rather than to the basket for a layup. What are we teaching people now?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think if you watched the game last night against the Rockets, the Warriors beating the Rockets, they did not take nearly as many threes. And I understand there's a time and place for it. I feel like it depends on the game and depends on the situation, depends on who you're playing. The Rockets last night were smothered at the three-point line by the Warriors. Their perimeter defense was second to none. And when that happens, they need to adapt and adjust their game plan to make that work. And they have players to be able to make that work. Clint Capella was dominating in the paint, but then they just took him away. But I'm just saying, like, I think it's exciting. I think it has its time and place. It may not win championships every night, but it gets you more points,
Zach, please talk to Todd.
All right. Brandon, I think all of us, we need to move to neutral ground because we're never going to let Todd, I don't know, talk negative about anything related to the Warriors. So
they have been off this season. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that they had, in the 2016 NBA Finals last year, they shot terribly. They shot terribly, the whole team, and that's why they lost. And
I think it's
adapt. And then how can you help Kyrie and LeBron having like 50-point nights? How can you help that? But the thing is it's the way the league is going, and whether we like it or not, that's just how it's transforming and evolving. And I'm not saying this because of the Warriors. I'm saying this because of the whole league. The Cavs made a historic amount of three-pointers in the game as well, and they're following the league as well. They're doing the exact same thing everyone else is doing, and it's just at the end of the day.
But Todd,
yeah,
when they're off, where's LeBron going? Right to the basket.
To the basket.
And the last thing I'm going to say, because I'm sick of the Warriors right now.
Tell him, Zach.
But this relates just to the idea of how they've changed basketball. Houston, on paper, you look at them. You look at Harden. You look at Lou Williams. These are guys that can go to the basket and finish. The Warriors just made every other team stop going down to the basic fundamentals. And you know what? It pains me to watch it. Let's move on.
We can move on. I just want to have the last word.
Oh, please. By all means, go ahead.
That being said, I understand that if it wasn't working, do you think the league would be heading in that direction? I pose that honest question. That's what I'm just going to end on. If it wasn't what they thought was going to work, would the league be really moving in that direction? And it's not just the Warriors. It's not just the Rockets. It's not just the Cavs. It's the whole league. And I think that's true to a very, very large extent. Brandon, go ahead.
Quickly answer it. That's a little two-sided right there. There's 2 questions. There's the one that how is it affect, like we're talking about how it's affecting the league, and then we're talking about what's good for the league. The league wants to sell tickets. They know it's exciting, and they know kids and parents and everybody alike wants to see that. But we're talking about the essence of basketball versus the league trying to make money. There's a difference.
Okay. All right. That being said, we have to move on to third quarter. We might run out of time. So let's move on to our segment Splash or Break, and we have Zach taking care of us with our topics, and he'll grill Brandon and I about what we.
All right. The first question for Brandon is, do you agree with Boogie's recent comments?
All right, so Boogie recently came out and said he was referring to how the Kings organization handled his trade, and he said, "Come to me like a man. I'm a human being. Don't treat me like a effing piece of cattle." Strong remarks, but he is sending a good point, though. How long did we hear the Kings organization, at least for this portion of the beginning part of the season, oh, he's not going to be traded. We're not trying to trade him. We're trying to build our future around him. We have the new arena. We're trying to start new. He's going to be our block. And just like that, he finds out what we think from his agent through during a media session after the All-Star game. So I didn't like it at all.
So what's your –
I'm gonna say brick. Or I'm going to say splash to his comments. Never mind, splash.
Splash to the comments? That is a splash from Brandon. Moving on, Todd, will Portland make the playoff despite Nurkic going down with the big injury to his leg?
Yes, they will make it to the playoffs. Portland will hold down an 8 seed, maybe a 7 seed. Because really, how much do they rely on Nurkic? They don't. You know, he does do very well. He does do a lot for them. But at the same time, you got Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. Those guys are great, and Damian's been playing out of his mind since the All-Star break, and no one even realizes it. But that being said, they may be a little thin. They may be a little short-handed when it comes to height without Nurkic and without what he brings to the game. But at the same time, he hasn't been consistently that triple-double guy that we saw when he played against the Nuggets. And the Nuggets really, as well, have been on the downhill slide. They haven't been playing nearly as well recently. So I think that the Trailblazers, with outstanding play from Lillard and McCollum, will squeak out in that 8th seed in the West. So that's a splash.
Very reasonable. Now back to Brandon, something I'm sure you'll love to talk about right now. And don't get offended, Todd.
Oh, I won't.
Is Draymond Green a dirty player?
Absolutely. I'm tired of the Draymond conversation on us trying to defend him that, oh, it's just – how he lands or how he jumps. Last year, he was flailing his leg and kicking everybody in the nuts. I'm tired of it. You know, don't tell me that that's natural for you. When you go up in the air, you're flailing. There's two things to that. It's either, are you telling us you're flopping, or you're actually going after these guys and hitting them? And he admits last night, or what was it, yesterday, that he intentionally hit what's called James Harden's injured hand. Why?
He was pinching them, is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if you watch the video, it does look like he did, but I'm not defending him.
Todd?
I'm just saying.
I might have to censor you.
I'm just saying what he said.
I might have to censor you.
I agree. He's a dirty player. I like it, though.
Of course you do, Todd. Now I'm going to ask you the final question.
Sure.
Was John Wall out of line calling out the refs?
Absolutely not. I get tired of the league and everyone just in general treating the refs like saints. They're human beings, man. They make mistakes. If John Wall calls them out on it, there's no problem with that. You know, it can't change the outcome. Calling them out on it after the game won't change anything. I understand that. Personally, me as a person, like if I had that happen to me, I would blame myself. I would say things that I would do better. But, you know, John Wall, he's been playing out of his mind. Is there anything much he can do better? You know, if the refs blow a game, the refs blow a game. There's nothing to it. I don't feel like the league should protect them so much. And, I mean, they're humans. We need to understand that. We need to understand that they make mistakes. And if they make mistakes, why not call them out on it? You know, help them improve. And John Wall, if he's looking for an excuse, I understand that there is no excuse. I mean, if your team loses, your team loses. But at the same time, you know, I have no problem with it. With a guy like John Wall calling them out, I have no problem with him calling out the refs because they do make mistakes. And if they made lots of mistakes, then what's there to it? You know, he's got to let people know. And if he's frustrated with the quality of the reffing, then there needs to be some way for him to address it. And through the media, I think is an effective way to do it because that's what LeBron did to get his playmaker, right? Aaron Williams.
So Todd, it's pretty obvious what your answer is. But for the fans back home, splash or brick?
uh, what was it? Do I agree with it? Do I think he was out of hand? Brick. He was not out of hand by saying
Let's build a wall.
that.
All right.
All right. Well, that was Splash or Brick, everybody, and we got to move to our last topic here. Just saying, Russell Westbrook, he is so close to breaking Oscar Robertson's triple-double record on the other night against the Magic in an overtime win where he hit the final, dagger. He hit the game-winning shot. He had a 57-point triple-double, which is the most amount of points in a triple-double ever recorded in NBA history. Do you guys think this propels him to first place in the MVP race, or do you agree with the likes of Stephen A. Smith or Mark Jackson or Kobe Bryant saying that we need co-MVPs for the first time?
Well, to be completely honest with you, I do. And I'm not going to be biased right now. I love Russell Westbrook. I have nothing against James Harden. And it's pretty obvious that those are the two front runners. But look at some of Harden's insane stat lines, especially the one on New Year's Eve when he had a similar triple-double. The game was out of reach from the get-go. When Westbrook's putting up these triple-doubles, he's hitting some clutch shots. He hit a clutch shot to send that game to overtime.
Against the Magic.
Against the Magic.
Against Dallas.
Are they really that great of teams, though? I mean, he lost to San Antonio. Sorry, Brandon, go for it.
I don't know where to begin. Like Zach, I absolutely adore Russell Westbrook. Nothing against him. I love his game. I love his energy. I love his passion. Everything about it. But we're getting to a point, like I've said in the last podcast, that triple-double is being way overvalued. It's been happening for years. This is the year where there's the most triple-doubles happening, so it's not like he's the only guy doing it. All props to him. He might end up breaking the record, whatever. But please, Todd, after we post this podcast, if you could also tag the video that you shared on Facebook. And everybody go to Todd's Facebook page and look what he shared. It's a perfect illustration of Westbrook going after rebounds when it's not even in the flow of the offense. It's absurd at this point. I give because everybody wants to take credit away from him. We've always been doing it for years, and the biggest problem before was that he wasn't getting enough assists, and now he's doing it. But credit to him, though. It's just, he's doing well, but it's getting too much. And to say if he's back in the MVP, I don't know. I still think they're tied. It's hard for me to choose one at this point. I'm still going with Harden, I guess.
Ahead of last night, I would say, I would agree with you. Before last night's game, but Harden was close to a triple-double last night, shot 4 for 18, and although Westbrook shot 8 for 22 and choked really badly last night in the second half, still put up a ridiculous stat line. And I think right now he has a slight edge over Harden.
What does that mean? A loss, still a loss. For both of them, but just
exactly. That's why.
Is Kawhi still nowhere in this? I'm sorry.
He's not, and I'll tell you why.
But in all reality, I agree completely with Brandon in the fact that his triple-doubles are overvalued. If you look at it, when it comes to crucial games against, actually good opponents, because the Magic and Dallas, come on. Can we be honest? The game shouldn't be that close for him to have to shoot clutch shots if he was the real MVP, in my opinion.
I disagree, Todd.
He shouldn't.
Everyone around him's underperforming.
Yeah,
he's chasing a triple-double.
It's because he's not using his team.
That's not true, though. I get it.
When he has the ball in his hand 64% of the time.
He's purposely trying to pass the ball to purposely get assists.
Zach, there are about 5 or 6 guys, I think, on that roster that have a higher field goal percentage than your MVP. Don't tell me he does. I hate when
How many less shots?
I hate when you hear he doesn't have help. He's got help. He has Enes Kanter, who's he's very good offensively in the post. His defense is suspect. You have Steven Adams, who's been
an underperforming Victor Oladipo.
Well, Victor Oladipo. We say underperforming. He was putting up nice numbers in Orlando, but he was losing. He's in the offense. People want to see his first option numbers. He's not a first option right now. We see that. Pass him the damn ball. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, here's the thing though. When Westbrook has the ball in his hands, 64, I don't know if it's 64, but the majority of the time, how can you expect the rest of the team to perform when they don't get the ball? The guys Westbrook,
Come
he's amazing. He involves guys. He gets assists. I understand they get purposely passes to people to get assists. He purposely goes for rebounds when it's not his place to get
You're
them.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The last
It
thing I
makes
want to
them
say.
worse. It makes the
Todd,
team as a whole worse. And if you're talking about the most valuable player, he needs to make his team better. James Harden does that. Russell Westbrook does not. And that's just where I'll end my argument.
the last thing I'm going to say, I agree with you, but the last thing I'm going to say is that I don't think this team would be in a playoff spot if Russell Westbrook wasn't as selfish as he is.
Well, the Rockets wouldn't be where they're at if James Harden was still the player they might be in the playoffs, but he wouldn't be the player he is now. They wouldn't be in the third seed if he wasn't playing the way he is.
What's OKC's record when Westbrook gets triple doubles? I think they've lost
31. They're about 31-7, I think.
I think that's phenomenal. And when he hasn't,
But why are we basing off their wins and losses off if he has to get it? Because I see that stat all the time on ESPN. If he
I'm not
gets a
trying.
triple-double, if he gets a triple-double, they have a higher winning percentage. So get a triple-double. All right, but he's like I was saying and Todd said before, he's going after unnecessary rebounds where other guys can get them, where the big guys are just like, oh, you can get it, Russ. We'll give it to you because we know you want to get your rebounds higher. And I know how we're centering now. Like, he's not passing the ball a lot, and it's hard to believe because he's getting 10 assists a game. But the way me and Todd are saying, as great as he is, and as great as you're making out to be, as this MVP candidate, if he played like that, dude could average like 16 or 17 assists. He could. He really could. And, we're seeing 10 assists. He's getting 10 assists because everybody's running at him, because everybody knows he's going to be the one shooting. 3 guys and he dumps it off. Like Harden's doing it throughout the course of the offense. I feel like Russ is just forcing.
And I feel like his team would be a lot better had at the get-go instead of chasing triple doubles. Well, I don't think he chased triple doubles at the beginning, but I feel like his team would be better had he at the beginning of the season involved them more in the offense, found a way to work with Oladipo and with Robertson and with Cantor, with Adams. With Sabonis. I mean, there's guys on that team that are very good. They're very good players, and they can complement him very well. But he's not taking full advantage of it, and I don't think that that's an MVP, in my opinion. James Harden is the MVP because he utilizes the guys around him to their best ability, doing what they do best, helping them do what they do best, by creating shots for them because they are shooters. They just happen to be shooters. And D'Antoni geniusly created the team that way. And that's why they are where they are. And James Harden has been utilizing them to their best ability rather than Westbrook just utilizing them for his stats.
Okay, you're absolutely right. And with time running out, I just want to shift things over to the Eastern Conference for 1 second and just ask a final question. With the Raptors only 3 games out of first place, and a Lowry potentially returning before the playoffs, can this team win the conference?
Not yet. No, not this season.
All right.
Is LeBron still playing?
Are the Cavs still playing? You tell me. Doesn't look like it.
Watch what happens when the playoffs come around. And
sure, the playoffs. I was just talking about capturing the 1 seed.
It won't happen.
Oh, you said you mean win the conference? First seed.
It's very possible.
I feel like if anything,
all right, guys,
ahead in front of them.
It's been great, guys. Hey, this is really one of my favorite episodes. I feel like we did a good job, and I hope everyone at home listening loved it. So thanks, guys.
Appreciate you guys. Please follow and subscribe.
Subscribe, follow. See you next week.